It is exactly 14 after 9 o'clock. This is News and Views on Salam Media, and it is Freedom Day, of course. It's the 27th of April, and on this day in 1994, the victory of liberation was highlighted, and we talk there about freedom and justice over oppression. It was really the birth of democracy. We celebrate the birth of a new constitutional democracy and the adoption, more importantly, of a new flag and constitution. And when I talk about a new flag, I do remember over time thereafter, there were many incidences of a particular race group in our country that were involved in the burning of the new flag and still hoisting up the old Afrikaner flag. And that kind of also expresses or, shows that there were certain sections of the community in South Africa that were pushing back against the new constitution, the new liberation, the rights of all people in South Africa. And I guess even though we are celebrating Freedom Day today, doesn't mean that we are over all of our troubles. We do know, as discussed in our first interview this morning with the Honourable Member of Parliament, Imran Subrati, that there are still very many issues of hate crimes, hate speech against different groups in the country. And of course, 30 years later, come on, guys, let's wake up. Let's wake up and respect each other's views, colors, creeds, and also religions, because that is what humanity is all about. And having said that, we're still on a roll regarding issues of human rights violations, freedom of speech, Freedom Day, and issues where it seems that certain minority groups still feel threatened by the people of the land. And we are talking the African people of South Africa who were under the yoke of who were under the yoke of apartheid for many, many years, up until 30 years ago, when, of course, we then got our liberation. So we're still talking about human rights violations, and freedoms of all kinds and all types, particularly freedom of speech. And we will be talking with Nandipha Zonela, head of the ANC's International Relations Subcommittee. And she's going to talk to us about constitution violated, and not a moment too soon. And of course, very, very well timed on this day, Freedom Day, the 27th of April. A very good morning to you. Welcome to the program. Lovely to have you on the show.
Good morning, Julie. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and happy Freedom Day to you.
And to you too. Aren't we fortunate that in our lifetime we are able to celebrate the freedom of our beautiful country, despite a few Looney Tunes out there who still persist in calling out differences of color, creed, religion, and nationality. If we didn't have those type of haters, this country could be such, we could be focusing our attention on other issues that need to be fixed. But be that as it may, Nandipha, I must say that I viewed your clip, and you know which clip I'm referring to, and I salute you for that. I'm so glad that you've given voice to a serious situation like that. So let's start off by asking the question: are private spaces like the Houghton Golf Club bound by free speech in the same way as the state?
Look, everybody, let's start it like that. Everybody in the country is bound by the Constitution. There are, of course, bigger responsibilities that placed on the state to enforce such rules. But even private spaces like the Houghton Golf Club can't have rules that are contrary or in violation of the South African Constitution. So anybody that is making the rules, that is drawing up the rules or whatever code of conduct, they need to be conscious not to temple on the Constitution or even violate other people's rights. So the rules, the rights, the privacy, and everything else does go with a responsibility. It is also stated in the Constitution.
So, Nandipha, where is the line between club rules and freedom of expression? And then also, people, certain quarters have questioned if the ANC is not perhaps overstating the constitutional argument. And then, of course, in line with all of this questioning regarding specifically in this matter, the Houghton Golf Club, should this go to court or stay political, perhaps?
It's it's above you that what was made on that day was a political statement. It was not an administrative decision. It was a political statement. And the ANC has not overstated the constitutionality of the matter, because this was an individual in a private golf club in his private car displaying a flag of Palestine. Where do you then draw the line? Are you saying because you are able to make the rules that protect you, you will then say tomorrow, Nandi, you can't come in here because you are wearing the ANC t-shirt? Where is my
Ah,
right in that? Are you saying that you will then say a person can't access your facility because they are wearing a Palestinian kafia? So I'm saying it was a deliberate move that was made by the club because they saw the Palestine flag. It was not about their rules, it was about them not liking the flag that was displayed there. That is why we continue to say the banning, the attack was not on that specific individual, it was on the flag itself. It was on the solidarity that we have with the people of the Palestine. It was an attack on the suffering of the people of Palestine. So for us, the club itself made a political statement.
in your view, Nandipha, should all political symbols be allowed in private venues? And here I'm thinking we're talking about a particular venue, and we're talking about the Houghton Golf Club, referring to the incident that happened a week ago. What about shopping centers? What if I decide to go into a shopping center, sit quietly, mind my own business, but hoist a Palestinian flag to show my solidarity for the genocide being perpetrated on Palestine? Would I be violating any rules or regulations as far as the shopping mall is concerned, whether it's inside of the shopping center or outside on the pavement? Your thoughts on that matter?
That's definitely your freedom of expression. That's
Ah.
definitely your freedom of choice. That is definitely your protected right by the Constitution to wear, choose, display, do whatever that you want as long as you're not offending anybody. Why would anybody be offended by you when you are walking in a shopping center wearing a Palestinian flag or holding your Palestinian flag to express your association and your solidarity with the people of Palestine? And where do you draw the line? Where do you draw
Okay.
the line when you say, where do you draw the line when you say, oh, because our rules mean that we don't like politics, we don't want. So are you saying people must not express themselves?
So, does this not set a wider precedent? I'm thinking, so if I go to a shopping center hoisting, wearing a keffiyeh and hoisting a Palestinian flag, but very quietly just sitting and just making a statement by my quiet presence, a whole lot of other people would also, and this might be the counter argument, that if we allow you, Julie, to do that, we may have 100 people tomorrow coming to state their support for any political party or any affiliation that they feel very strongly towards. How do we then control, or how do we not set such a precedent? Will it not get out of hand? So I'm just playing devil's advocate here, Nandipha.
That's the beauty of our democracy. That's the beauty of our constitution. People must be allowed to express themselves in the manner in which they want to express, as long as they don't offend anyone. There are no political parties that are banned in South Africa. There are no people that must be censored from doing what they believe in, as long as they are doing it responsible. The only precedent that we must set here is to educate people that we are in solidarity with the people of Palestine. The people of Palestine are experiencing genocide in the hands of the Israeli government, and we should not keep quiet. We should not be silenced. And those that want to collaborate with the genocidal state of Israel must not be made to be comfortable in South Africa. That is the precedent that we must set. We must continue to hoist the flag of Palestine until the people of Palestine gain their freedom. Because if we do not talk about their plight, if we do not talk about their situation, if we do not fight for them, they will never see their freedom. So every act, every activity must speak to the solidarity that we're having with the people of Palestine. So for me, that is the precedent that we must set.
I started off my show this morning talking about Freedom Day and what it means to you and I as South Africans. And did we ever dream that 30 years on that we would be celebrating Freedom Day? And in the same vein, we pray for the emancipation and freedom of the Palestinian people. What does this incident at the Houghton Golf Club say about freedom on Freedom Day?
It actually says that freedom on its own is not an event. It is a gradual and continuous process, it's a continuous struggle. The struggle did not end in 1994. That is why we consistently say the struggle continues. So we must continue to struggle to ensure that the constitution is upheld, our value systems are upheld, people are able to coexist and live in peace, and that those that are continuing to live in the past or believe that they are more superior than others must be identified, must be isolated, and they must be called out. That's what freedom means. So this incident is telling us that there are still pockets of our society that have not accepted that there is a constitution in this country, and it is our duty to remind them. It is our duty to ensure that they live with those rules of the constitution. That is what we need to do.
Do you believe that rights are unevenly still being applied 30 years into democracy?
Look, even though we do have our freedom, we do have our beautiful constitution, like I said, the struggle continues. There are wider issues that are also related to issues of rights. And you can talk about how people live. You can talk about some people who are still 30 years into the democracy have not really enjoyed the fruits of the freedom. They have not received the economic emancipation that we all anticipated that it was going to happen on the dawn, with the dawn of democracy. That is why we now need to say we have received our political freedom, we have received our rights, but what then happens to the economy of South Africa? And that is the conversation that South Africans must have about what it means to be free, what it means to be totally free in South Africa. What does it mean about access? What does it mean about access to wealth, access to education, and access to healthcare? So it's a broader conversation that we can have. But I can say to you, it's not yet Uhuru.
So, does this incident, one of many, I should imagine, all around the country, this incident at the Houghton Golf Club, let's link it to, let's look at it as whether it dilutes the issue around Freedom Day. the meaning of Freedom Day? Does it dilute or strengthen what Freedom Day is all about?
It opens the conversation. It opens the conversation about what other pockets of our society believe they can and cannot do in this country. It also opens a conversation that people believe that because they are sitting in their little elite corners and clubs, they can violate and trample on other people's rights without any consequence. That is why it's important that not just the ANC, but the civil society must stand up and fight to protect the rights of all citizens. It is our democracy. It is our responsibility to guard it. It is our responsibility to protect it. There is nobody that is going to come from somewhere else and say, we are protecting the freedom and the sovereignty of South Africa. So it is the little activities and the little efforts that we all must make that will ensure that our freedom, our democracy, our constitution, our sovereignty as a nation is protected and upheld. And that is how other nations will also respect us.
Let's look at the broader implications of freedom. Do we need freedom of right, speech, access, etc., etc.? Do we need clearer rules for free speech in private spaces?
You need a more conscientized society. You need a more conscientized society. You need a more responsible corporate citizen. You need more understanding. You need more people that are, the rules are there. The rules are there. People must enforce the rules. People must respect the constitution. People must respect other people's rights. So you need people that are conscientized that even those that draft their rules, they must know where they are drawing those rules from.
Nandipha, in your view, would you say this incident at the golf club, Houghton Golf Club, is an isolated incident, or do you believe that this is a bigger trend around the country?
It is a bigger trend that I'm saying. That's why I'm saying that it is a bigger trend, because there are people that are sitting in their little spaces, in their private spaces, that they think that they can and create rules as they go and enforce those rules and discriminate against other people. And those are the people that we must find and call out. In our little corners where we find them, where they show their face, we must call them out. So society needs to stand up. You can't have no-go areas in South Africa. You can't have people that have got private clubs that says you can't enter because you are black. You can't enter because you are wearing an ANC t-shirt. You can't enter because you support Palestine. You must be isolated because you don't share certain views that certain people share. It is those little things that people must call out, because they are not small, they are big, and they exist and they happen in our country. It is spaces where workers in their workplace are uncomfortable and they are not able to go and talk about it because they are scared of losing their jobs. It is in those spaces where workers are getting raped, are getting violated, their rights are being violated, and people believe because it's a private farm, it's a private homestead, you are not going to be able to be called out. We must call them out. People must speak. People must find their voice. That's what freedom is about. It's about finding your voice to speak and express yourself and express that you do not like what is happening to you. If you feel that your rights are being violated, you must fight back. You must speak, and society will support you.
Nandipha Zonela, head of ANC's International Relations Subcommittee. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much. I hope that we can hook up again for a future discussion right here on Salam Media. Happy Freedom Day to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye.
It is 9:33. We are moving along. Do stay with us. We're going to be still spending some time with you, probably till a little after 10 o'clock. So I do hope whatever your plans are today on Freedom Day, that it does include family, friends, relatives, your community, and reflect upon this amazing day where I never ever thought would have been possible 30 years ago, that I'd be sitting here talking to you about emancipation, about freedom. And 30 years into our democracy, we are now talking up for the rights and the emancipation of Palestinian people.